check this out. So we're going to select a photo right now, and then we are going to paste in a prompt, and we're going to tell it how to change the room, and we're going to hit generate. All right, so we've got the image now. Now the idea is in the future, we won't have to place in a prompt. Instead, the user can just select a certain style and it'll generate the image. But we got it working. So in the demo you just saw, I reduced some of the time for the image generation because I do want to talk about that in a second. But before that, I want to jump back in time to our last vlog and talk about how we even got to the point of this demo. Because the last time we talked, I mentioned that there was this Home Designs AI service that did exactly what we wanted by uploading a photo and giving us the transformed result, which looks amazing, by the way, but it was too expensive. It was a fixed cost per month, and I didn't want to launch an app and have a fixed cost per month. I wanted more of a pay-per-use cost. In case we don't get any customers, then we wouldn't be paying. So we started looking into other options, such as DALL-E, which is a lot cheaper, by the way, but it wasn't giving me the results I wanted. It would keep changing the layout and the architecture of the room. I wasn't able to keep it consistent. That may be a skill issue with prompting more than a fault with DALL-E itself, but we kept looking. So then we found Replicate, which hosts a whole bunch of different user models. I guess it's models that they have trained. And this one looks perfect for what we need, which is an interior design model. Look, looks pretty good, right? And the pricing is what I would want. It's like a pay-per-use type of pricing. Now, immediately I had a couple of questions, which was, if this is a user model, what if the user pulls the plug? So that's a risk that we have to just be aware of, and maybe something we can mitigate down the road by making sure we have a backup. Second question I had was around licensing. So would we be able to use this for commercial use? So that doesn't look to be an issue. And then lastly, I'm wondering what's the incentive for users to upload these models for everyone to use? And I think that they get compensated for the amount of runs, amount of people that use their model. So I think, at least. So that gave us the confidence to go ahead with using this. Now the next part is, can we actually build a demo in iOS that would upload the photo, use this model, get the image back, which is our primary core functionality. And we were able to do that as the demo you just saw, but it wasn't so easy. We ran into a whole bunch of issues, which is why it took us about a month to solve this. But this is what we tried first, like getting the photo from the user on the app, uploading it, and then having that transformation happen and come back. But it wasn't working very well. And so the other option is just to pass a URL to Replicate, which means we'd have to host the actual photo somewhere else. So in that demo you just saw, it uploads the photo to Firebase storage, and then we get the URL and we send it to Replicate to transform that photo. So that worked. And now the next thing to do is to make sure that it is secure, because we won't, especially with these sort of AI type services, there's a lot of key abuse. A lot of people are not storing their API keys securely, which makes it really easy for hackers to disassemble your code, look at the key in your code, and then use your key for anything else, which racks up your charges. And so what you ideally want to do is to have a hosted service, like you have like a web server with a web service that you code, and that service connects to Replicate or OpenAI or wherever, and that has the API key. And your client app, your iOS app, only makes the request to the hosted service, and that's it. So even if they look at the code, which they can download the app bundle of your iPhone app, and then they can disassemble it and look at the code, they're not going to find your API key in there. So that's one thing we have to do. Another thing is I mentioned that there's long image generation times. Currently, it's about a minute, 2 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes long. Based on user experience, there are ways to mitigate that. For apps, we can tell the user, come back later, we'll send you a push notification when it's ready. There are probably other optimizations we can do, because there's different things you can tweak, variables that you can tweak with here. Maybe you don't want as much detail, then it'd be faster. If you want like a smaller image, maybe a bit faster. We haven't really looked into that just yet, because I don't want to focus on just these little details, because we are a small team. I want to do broad strokes first and sort of get the entire app working, and then go back in and into specific screens and make adjustments and tweaks and fine tune things where we need to. So I want to run you through our design and app flow to show you what this app is going to look like, because in the last vlog, I only showed you wireframes and we have design now. So let's go into Figma and take a look. All right, let me take you through this design. So before, all you saw were the wireframes, which were these, really useful to chart out the navigation and the user experience of how they're going to go through the app without focusing on things like color and placement to a certain degree in design. But now you put some color and paint on it and it looks great. Okay, so here's what we're thinking. We don't have a logo yet, but it will probably launch with this screen. And this is going to be the onboarding process. So this is really important because it's going to take your user through experiencing the value of your app, which will increase the retention. That's what I'm trying to say, because reduced churn and increased retention are opposites, but they mean the same thing. So you want to do both of those. You want people to return to your app, right? But they'll only do that if they find it useful. And sometimes when they launch the app and they don't know what to do, confusion means they will leave. Onboarding process helps with that. And it also helps with selling. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, onboarding. So we are going to ask them to get started and redesign their space. They can either take a photo with their camera or upload one from the library. We need to ask for permissions to do that. So if they don't allow, then we're going to show, there's a screen I'll show you later if they don't allow. And if they do allow, then it'll launch something like this. So they'll either take a photo or they will pick one from the library and then continue. Okay, and then we need some context. So that helps the AI model renovate the room. So what sort of room is this? And perhaps we'll also let them type in some notes about how they want to change it. That's something that I think we discussed in a design review, hasn't been implemented just yet. Or actually, we don't know from the technical side what that looks like yet. So that's why it hasn't been incorporated into the design. And then we have a bunch of different themes or styles that they can transform their room into. I think these aren't set in stone. I think this is just a listing that we grabbed off the internet of available styles, but we're going to have to make sure that the model can actually transform the room into these styles. So here's one selected. Going to take some time, and we might have to change the way this works because at the time this was designed, we didn't know that the generation would actually take that long. So then this would be the transform photo where you could like retry doing it again or download it or close it. You can save it or you could design another. Okay. Here's just some confirmation dialogues. And what would happen if you save it is it would come down, if I would just follow these arrows, let me just zoom out for a little bit, into here where there is a saved tab. So that would bring you into here of your saved generations. And then you could re-download them and things like that. So here is re-downloading or delete them. You manage all of the generations you've done. So after you've experienced that one generation, then we're going to show you the paywall for, again, a lot of this is just placeholder text. It's not actual copy that we're going to use. We haven't even decided on pricing, the different tiers we're going to have or anything like that. That would be a paywall. So the onboarding process is a good way for you to sell the benefits of your app and either help them experience value, help the app relate to them, or have the user feel like the app relates to them by asking questions and personalizing the app and things like that, discussing how the app will change their life, give them all these different benefits and help them, and then present the offer, right? Or any special offers. And so I read some statistics somewhere that a lot of the trials and a lot of conversions of the paid tiers actually comes during the onboarding process. And of course, another time to show a paywall would be when they try to use premium features, or maybe they use up the free limit of whatever your app does. That's another time to show paywall. Okay, here are some designs of when there are no photos, prompting them to take a photo. Let me zoom out and see what else we have. So here's something asking for review and rating, which is really important for your App Store algorithm and ranking the app. So we definitely want to make sure we are asking for ratings and reviews. Now, it's interesting because when I look at the streams and videos of the experts, app marketing experts, some say just show the rating, show the pop-up right after the onboarding, even though the user hasn't experienced the app yet. Actually, in our case, they have experienced the app, so maybe that would be a good time, right? But in some cases, they recommend like just showing it right off the bat, and you end up getting more ratings and reviews that way. Other people say after the user have experienced some value with the app, that's when you're asking for a rating review. In either case, you want to ask for that because Apple takes into consideration how many reviews and ratings you're getting to rank your app for your keywords. We also want to, here's a settings screen, and we want to be able to share things, share the rooms as well. Okay, so these are screens where, error screens. Okay. I'm speaking a bit fast. Sorry, I'm trying to rush through this because I don't want the video to be too long. And also I find that if I'm just talking too much, I have a tendency to talk a lot and people get bored. So hopefully by me talking fast, it keeps your attention, and hopefully this is interesting to you. So this is the design. Other thing I want to talk to you about is App Store screenshots. So I've been learning a lot. I keep this App Store money notebook. That's what I called it. And anything I watch, any education, training video, live stream I watch, I try to take notes so I can refer back to it and I categorize and tag it. And I also want to create this as a resource for other students and everyone to use. So hopefully in the future it's searchable. Right now I don't think it's searchable, but the thing I want to talk about is this one. So Ariel is the co-founder, owner of App Figures, which is a app marketing tool, which is really cool. And by the way, I will link this site in the description below the video so you can just click it instead of copying that. But anyways, I learned how important screenshots are, because if you want to rank for the keyword you're targeting, the screenshots do a phenomenal job, or like a lot of the heavy lifting to convert the user to a download, right? Imagine you click on an App Store listing, you look at the screenshots, if it looks good, there's a high chance you'll download it. If the screenshots and the captions speak to you and it seems like it's going to solve your problems, you're going to download it. On the other hand, if the screenshots are poorly made, the app doesn't look good, you probably won't download it, right? So that conversion, that download, Apple sees attributes to, or it affects the ranking of your app for that search query. So that's how important they are. So anyways, I took a bunch of notes. I asked our designer to watch the live stream, look at my notes, look at how competitors are doing, because obviously they are playing the same game and we can sort of leverage their knowledge. And so this is what he's come up with. Something like this. This is what we have so far. And that's the updates for the home reno app. So we've set a fresh target. I said by the end of this month, by the end of April, we need to have submitted this app to the App Store, right? And I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to do that. So overall, I am happy that we have solved this problem with the core functionality and we can move forward. But I am a little bit disappointed because I thought we would be launching the app now in a month's time since the idea was conceived, because I wanted to build a very small prototype so that we can test the waters. And now with the new deadline, if we are able to submit and launch this in April, at the end of April, I mean, then it would have total amount of time taken 2 months. The reason I want to move so fast is because our strategy relies on building multiple apps, not just one app. You can see here, I did the keyword research for a whole bunch of different opportunities, and not all of these I'm going to go with, but this is just all of my research, which is available in a link in the description below as well. But there are some good keywords, other ones that I want to target. And so our strategy is broad, right? Lots of small apps across a lot of different categories, see which one sticks, and then invest the time to build on that. There also is a little bit of urgency. It's not just in my head, because when I found the opportunity a month ago, let's say this one, Home Design AI, which is how this app came about, the popularity was 27, competition was 40. But if I take a look at that now, Home Design AI, it is now competition 50. It went from 40 to 50, and it went from 27 to 28. AI home design, 40 and 58 now, whereas before AI home design was 38 and 46. So it went up in popularity a little bit, but more people found the opportunity. You know, it went from 46 to 58, which sort of like we're trying to target below 50. It's not just in my head. There is a little bit of urgency there to get on the leaderboard, the rankings, and start accruing that trust and authority and building that trust with the App Store algorithm. The longer we delay in launching, the more the competition is going to get ahead, and then the opportunity will be no more. And the other thing, which is driving my urgency a little bit, is all of the AI coding stuff that has been going on all around me. So I don't know if you heard about vibe coding, but it's a term that kind of started earlier this month, I guess, end of February. And this is Google Trends, right? It's just taken off. And what is vibe coding? It's literally just using AI to code without reviewing any of the code and just like full send, right? Trying to build apps. And people are successfully building apps that way. I spoke with Dan and I was so surprised at the app that he built. This is a songwriting app. I was very impressed because, as you can see, it's got a custom look and feel. It connects to APIs. It uses RevenueCat for paywalls. It has AI features to look for rhymes and things like that. And Dan doesn't know code. He used Cursor and he built all of this in the span of 2 months himself. So I spoke with him over the course of 3 different Zoom calls, learned a lot about AI coding and Cursor and things like that, which got me to exploring it myself. And through looking at different tutorials, you're able to change Cursor into an iOS development environment where you can build it from here, you can launch the simulator from here. And the process in general revolves around generating a requirements document and step-by-step how we're going to get this app done, and then getting the AI to code it step-by-step while saving your progress using versioning control like along the way. There's a lot of videos I need to create because I do want to share this stuff with you guys as well. And so for me, I want to take advantages of AI coding to create all of these apps targeting all of these different keywords. Now, there are downsides, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying AI coding is the way of the future, because the cracks have started to show. I mean, a lot of reports coming out that, vibe coding produces code that is not secure. Surprise, surprise, right? Lots of API keys getting exposed and stuff. And when people don't know what they're doing, submitting apps into the App Store into production, lots of people to use. Oftentimes it's not scalable, vulnerabilities start showing up and things like that. And then it's also very hard to maintain if you want to make updates. Sometimes it breaks everything else that was working on. And if you don't know how to code, you have no idea how to fix it. And in speaking with Dan across 3 or 4 different calls, we're speaking on an ongoing basis about his progress, and I'm learning more about Cursor through him as well, is that it's oftentimes really quite difficult for him to do something, or to get the AI to do something that for a coder would be pretty simple, just because the app hasn't been architected from the ground up in a certain way. Certain best practices weren't followed, so on and so forth. So things like that. So I'm not saying AI coding is the way of the future, although it has progressed a lot since I last talked about it. So I want to create another video to talk about my thoughts on that. But I do think it has its uses, like for the purpose we're talking about, for creating MVPs and prototyping and testing your ideas quickly. I think it's great because you don't have to worry about scalability issues at that point. It's not like you're pouring paid ads on it, right? You just want to test out the idea and see how users feel about it. Start gathering feedback as soon as possible, that sort of thing. So you can reap the benefits of AI coding without so much worrying about the drawbacks. Now, in terms of security, you still have to make sure what you put out there is secure, especially if you're handling sensitive information like payments and things like that. So that I wouldn't compromise on. But in terms of, is it the best code? Is it architected according to best practices? Is it engineered correctly? That sort of stuff I wouldn't really concern myself with if all I'm doing is trying to test the waters with this app idea. So that's where we're at right now with the home reno app. I know a lot has happened. I'm going to try to do better by providing more frequent updates. But in the meantime, while the team is working on the home reno app, I've been learning more about the AI coding stuff. And I've been trying to build out this one. There's some other ones like this one right here as a test and a way to learn Cursor. And I've been able to build a pretty convincing demo so far, where I can choose a photo, upload it, get the background removed and I can save it to the photo library and everything. So I have a lot of videos to share and create here that I need to do. But anyways, thanks for watching. I will talk to you in the next vlog.